All right, well, the big, beautiful bill. We were gone when it passed. We were gone as, once again, just like we saw with the tariffs, all the brokest people you knew came out and had big opinions on how to fix the country's economic issues. They can't fix their own economic issues. They paid $793 in late fees to Klarna last year. But they know how the country's however many $1 trillion budget should be balanced. They've got that figured out. Nobody knows how the country should be run better than your cousin Shane, who has negative $15.63 in his bank account right now. Shane has the answer. The man, you guys don't understand. Jessica, that you went to high school with, that's big into crystals and has the tapestry all over her bedroom. It's the patriarchy's fault that she's poor, not the fact that she drinks all of her income away every Saturday night. If she had a $3 trillion budget, she would know how to manage it. Right? You know what part of the problem is that with the reactions I saw to this bill? The biggest problem is that budget cuts have become a naughty word to a lot of people my age and younger. That were, I guess, a naughty phrase in this case. But we've sent the message to people that cutting the federal budget equals bad. Doesn't matter what they're cutting. Cutting the budget is a bad thing. Eliminating waste is a bad thing. And as a result, that carries over into people's personal lives. Every month, we hear about Americans can go into debt a different way for something new. Like you can finance your DoorDash order on Klarna because you couldn't afford the $33 at Taco Bell. And Lord knows you weren't going to drive and just pay $7 at Taco Bell rather than financing it on DoorDash, but I digress. You hear about credit card debt hits a new high in this country, it seems like every month, and people don't want to, because they, just like with their opinions on the federal budget when they hear about cuts, they don't want to cut spending out of their personal lives. They don't care that they're living paycheck to paycheck and one disaster would make them homeless. They don't care about that. They want to spend because they deserve it. Why do they deserve it? We don't know. They can't tell you why they deserve it, but they know they deserve it, so they're just going to keep sucking that money up their nose, baby. Give me some blowing tequila. We're having a good night. What's that Pitbull song? I know my rent was going to be delayed about a week ago. I worked my ass off, but I still can't pay it, though. But I got just enough to get up in this club. Yeah, that's those are the songs my generation grew up with, and that's why we think that budget cuts are such a naughty, scary boogeyman. That's the issue here, is that when people hear cuts to the federal budget, it has to be bad. No one wants to look at anything from a fiscally responsible point of view when we're talking about the federal government, because no one looks at things from a fiscally responsible point of view when they talk about their own budget. So this is a micro habit that's being passed on to the macro. I'm serious. I'm watching people on Facebook who I've personally watched their debit card to get declined at a Quick Trip for $12 express their opinions on the federal budget. Now, I was a good friend, so I went and covered it for him, because I didn't want to sit there in line and wait for them to, go dig a different card out of their car. Mia's done that. You've watched people get cards declined at gas stations and have to go dig a new one out of their car, people you knew. That's always a good time, right? She's coming back. She had to leave the room for a minute. She's coming back. Go ahead. Yeah, the unimportant purchases like booze. That's what we were talking about while you left, is we were talking about you've got an entire generation of people that's afraid of fiscal responsibility. And I blame that Pitbull song. What was that song called? I knew my rent was going to be late about a week ago. I blame that song for this generation's fiscal irresponsibility. Because it glorifies being frivolous with your expenses. But here's what the big, beautiful bill did. The big, beautiful bill, the primary thing it did, well, I expressed my concerns with it. I wasn't a fan of everything. I wish it's hilarious because I'm seeing people freaking out on the left about all the horrible spending cuts it makes. And I'm sitting here like, this doesn't cut half of the spending I wanted them to. Like, we need to pump these budget cut numbers up even higher. I mean, I want 2/3 of the federal budget gone. And you people are sitting here crying that we're cutting too much. No, I feel like we're getting gypped here. But it made the reason I wanted it, because I was kind of split on it. I'm like, I get what Thomas Massey's doing. But again, pragmatist, I understand the way the world works. The reason I supported it passing ultimately was because it made the 2017 Trump tax cuts permanent. And we covered this on the show during the election. Kamala wanted to let them expire. And if she let them expire, or if Trump let them expire, every single one of you listening to this would have seen a 3.5% increase in your taxes. For most of you, that's a couple $1,000s a year that you would be giving to Uncle Sam. Now, we just talked about how many people are living paycheck to paycheck and up to their eyelids in credit card debt in this country. I don't know many people who could afford to just piss away a couple $1,000s extra a year, especially not if you live in a state like mine where every time that the city decides it wants to make a little bit more money, they send the county assessor out to just jack up the value of your home. So you have to account for being scammed by your local government along with the federal government. But this got rid of that. This is permanent now. The current tax brackets are the current tax brackets. There's nothing's going to expire. I mean, let's call this what it is, because on top of that, you also would have seen an increase in corporate taxes. And as we know, corporate taxes get passed on to us, the consumer. The corporations don't actually pay those taxes. We pay for those in one of two ways. We pay for it in price hikes, and we pay for it, if you work for the company, in layoffs, lack of bonuses, wage freezes, all kinds of fun stuff, right? So you would have seen overnight in 2026, if this bill didn't pass, a 3.5% increase in taxes for everyone in the country, whether you made $10,000 or $10 million next year. You would have seen a 3.5% increase in your taxes. You also would have seen record high price hikes like we've never seen before. You would have seen mass layoffs. You would have seen wage freezes. You would have seen the biggest economic disaster since 2008 if these tax cuts didn't get made permanent. The other thing we have to consider is when they talk about the 3.3 trillion in new debt or whatever, that's Trump's taking a little bit of a gamble here, which is ironic, and we'll talk about why that's ironic in a little bit. But Trump's taking a little bit of a gamble here, hoping that we can increase our GDP, because the increase in the deficit is only if the GDP stays at what it is. Trump wants to get it back, make America great again, back to the levels it was once at, in which case we will not see an increase in the deficit. That's what he's banking on, that we can bring in more money. Now, the other thing that everyone's freaking out about, because the tax cuts, no one wants to talk about the tax. First off, they call it a tax cut for billionaires and we all get screwed. It's not. It's a blatant lie. It's a blatant lie. It was not a tax cut for billionaires. They put no tax on tips for the next 2 years. How many billionaires do you guys know that work on tips? I'm yet to meet one. I know every bartender I've ever met embellishes how much money they make. They take the greatest night they've ever had, and all of a sudden that's what they make on a nightly basis. Well, no, they take the greatest night they've ever had, round it up to the nearest 1,000, and then that's what they make on a nightly basis. But I've yet to meet one that's a billionaire. So it's not a tax cut for billionaires. Like I said, the 3.5% increase would have affected everyone. So you're getting a tax cut next year when you weren't guaranteed one. In fact, you were guaranteed you were going to see an increase if the Whore of Babylon won. And you also, they're freaking out about the Medicaid cuts. That's another thing. Well, here's what the Medicaid cuts did. All the Medicaid cuts did was bring it back to what it was pre-COVID. We brought that up on the show. You got a lot of people in this country, able-bodied adults, that were able to get federally funded health care on the taxpayer dime without going to work. And we said, hey, that's ridiculous. So here's what Medicaid did. Medicaid is the four big cuts. We're no longer going to provide it to illegal immigrants. I know, the horror. People who sneak into this country can't just get medical care for free on our dime. What a monster, right? The second thing they were going to do is this bill makes it so that the taxpayers no longer pay off the debt that Medicaid patients leave. So, for instance, Medicaid doesn't always pay for everything. So if you go to the doctor and Medicaid pays what they cover, and then you have a bill and you just decide not to pay that bill, the taxpayers pay 60% of that. The federal government pays 60% of that, and then the hospital probably just writes the rest of it off and sells it to collections and is done with it. That's done. We're not doing that anymore. So you're still responsible for your portion of the bill. And do you know what happened when they did that? The same thing the universities did. As it turns out, when private businesses learn that they get a blank check from the government, they jack your prices up. So these hospitals and these doctors' clinics, they go, oh, we're dealing with somebody from Medicaid. Let's charge them twice as much as we would somebody on private insurance because they're not going to pay it. And the federal government will just write a check for over half the difference. Perfect. That's what they would do. So that leads us to the next thing. Hospitals can no longer charge Medicaid patients more than they charge private insurance patients. So when they say cuts to Medicaid, the cuts come in the form of, hey, you're still going to get the same service. We're just done overpay. It's now illegal for us to overpay for it. That's not taking health care away from anybody. That's making it so the taxpayers are no longer getting scammed. The last thing it did, so here's the cuts it made. So here's the pre-COVID requirements I was talking about. If you want to qualify for Medicaid and you don't have a disability, you are an otherwise able-bodied adult who is not of retirement age and is above the age of 18. This is strenuous. Mia, are you ready for this? I don't know how these people are going to make it. You have to be doing one of the following. Working at least 20 hours a week. Seeking employment if you don't have a job right now. Going to school. It can be trade school, it can be college, just some form of education. Volunteering, so for your church or whatever, full time. Or other extreme circumstances like you have a child or a parent who needs round-the-clock care and you can't afford a nurse. Other than that, if you want to sit at home all day and smoke weed and play video games, you can do that. But if you have a heart attack or you fall and break your arm, we're not paying the bills. We're done getting scammed in this country. And guess what? That's how it was before COVID. And as it turned out, we didn't have people dying in the streets. Can I say something, though? Something a little harsh, and this is why I can never run for office. If you're an able-bodied adult who's below retirement age and you're not working 20 hours a week, you're not looking for a job, you're not going to school, you're not doing full-time volunteer work, and you don't have extreme circumstances that make it so you can't work, and you just choose to fuck off all day, maybe you just should die. I'm not saying we round you up and kill you. Although I wouldn't be totally opposed to the idea, but maybe you get sick and you just chose not to take care of yourself or you have some type of event. Maybe it would just be better off if you just, bye-bye, went away. You're not doing anything. I'm sorry, you have to contribute. When I don't have a problem with social safety nets for people that are truly down on their luck. But if you're able to contribute to the pool and you choose not to, you certainly don't get to drink from it. It's not how this works. I mean, this is the only time in history where that's even something that would be remotely debated. Somebody who was otherwise able-bodied that just lounged around and did nothing all day because they're a lazy sack of shit gets everyone else to take care of them. No, dude, 200 years ago, they would have fucking killed you for that. Like if you were on like anywhere, like some type of colonial settlement or something, you just wanted to sit around and fuck off all day while everyone else went out and hunted and fished and farmed and, you know, did work inside the house and stuff like that. And then they'd come back and you'd expect to eat their food. They might put up with it once or twice, but eventually they're just going to take you out and shoot you. And it's not the worst thing in the world. I'm not encouraging that, obviously. But in my opinion, if you have the right to do what you want, for the most part, with your body, and being an able-bodied adult who doesn't want to work or do anything, you've chosen to die if you have a medical event. It's how it works. Harsh, I know. The last thing it did that I don't agree with is it shook up the gambling world. I'm going to tell you right now, I got a great aunt that's going to make January 6th look like a fucking birthday party if this doesn't get changed. But so under the current law, prior to next year, gamblers can deduct 100% of their losses up to the amount of their winnings. So if you win $100,000 and lose $100,000 a year, you're not going to owe any taxes. But under the new law, you can only claim 90%. So if you win $100,000 and lose $100,000 in the same year, you're still going to have to pay taxes on the $10,000 as if you made a profit. Now, that's bullshit. So at 24% federal tax rate, this results in a $2,400 tax bill. So you got to pay $2,400 for breaking even. I don't like that. And what they did here, I think, I heard a theory that this is a poison pill, and they were trying to turn the gambling industry against them. Now, this applies to everything. Sports betting, poker, horse racing, casino, you name it. Professional and recreational gamblers. So, by the way, I'm glad we booked our Vegas hotel when we did for the end of the year because the rates are triple after this news came out for the same date because Vegas is going to have to start making money up because this will cripple the gambling industry. Now, there's a couple congressmen, Republican and Democrat, from states like New Jersey and Nevada that heavily depend on gambling that are hopefully going to get this redone. But this is the kind of shit the government does, is they'll take taxes on something, on an industry that people don't even care about, and a lot of them probably don't like, and they'll go, oh, nobody's going to give a shit about these people. Because, I mean, truly, who does care about gamblers? Really, why would you care about gamblers? The fuck those degenerates. Take their money. That's the mindset of the average person, right? Well, that's not right. I don't care. Listen, the guy's he's gambling. Is it a great way to make money? Probably not. Is it the most ethical thing you can be doing? No. But he's not out human trafficking. He's not out slinging drugs. The only person he's really hurting here is himself if he wants to make money, if he wants to make a living out of gambling. That is a very, very difficult industry to make money in. And I don't know. I just don't like it. What do you think? Do you want to see the gamblers get run out?
Nah.
No.
I mean, they're not hurting anybody.
No.
Just let them live
Except their
life.
families when they owe money to the bookies and they firebomb their houses.
Yeah. I mean, society, you know.
Sure.
Yeah. Just let them live their life.
Exactly. All right, let's go to the next one.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked what you saw, be sure to click the link in the description to get the full episode on Rumble. If you prefer to listen along, you could actually get us on Spotify, Spreaker, and iHeartRadio. You can also go to www.outlawstreamers.com to learn more about not just my show, but tons of other great shows and all the exciting projects they have coming up. Follow my socials at Caleb Isn't Funny on Twitter and Instagram, at Caleb Salvatore Comedy on the Chinese Spy app that is TikTok, and be sure to like and subscribe to this YouTube channel. Thanks, and we'll see you every Saturday for brand new episodes of That's Based. Peace.